Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Smart Fanatic here, and tonight I am going to be ranking my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. Now, first and foremost, this is completely my opinion, so if you don't like this list, then I don't really care. But no, these are just wrestlers that, I grew up watching. I grew up watching wrestling in the Ruthless Aggression era, so, a lot of these wrestlers, they were very active during that time period, so, that's kind of like the little, theme that you might notice in this video, so, yeah, I just wanted to mention that, and, yeah, let's get right into this top 10 list. And at number 10, I have the Animal, Batista. There we go. But no, in all seriousness, I have always been a fan of Batista. From the matches he's had to his entrance theme song, which is totally badass. I Walk Alone by Saliva, just awesome. And yeah, I basically grew up with the guy, in the Ruthless Aggression era. Like I said, I watched that during that time period. And he was the man back in the day. When I think about that World Heavyweight Championship, Batista's one of the first few people that comes to my mind of who really embodied that title, during that time period. And yeah, like I said, his matches were great, with Triple H and, Undertaker and Edge even. So yeah, Batista's my number 10. And in 9th place, I have the charismatic enigma, the rainbow-haired warrior, Jeff Harvey. Now, if you grew up watching wrestling in the mid-2000s or even the late 90s, you were guaranteed to be a Jeff Hardy fanatic. I mean, the guy is probably one of the most likable people ever in wrestling, period. Everything he did was great, I thought. From his entrance was awesome, his matches were fantastic, and his moveset was very entertaining. And, the guy could really do it all. Back to his matches, he has some really great ones. From Edge to Triple H to Umaga even, and, from his time teaming with Matt Hardy against the Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian, and even the World's Greatest Tag Team, they have some really great matches. And yeah, there really isn't much to be said about Jeff Hardy that hasn't already been said. So yeah, the guy is just fantastic. I mean, there's nothing else much to be said. So yeah, Jeff Hardy, number 9. And in 8th place, I have the Brahmable, the People's Champion, The Rock, or as CM Punk likes to call him, Dwayne. But no, yeah, The Rock is The Rock. I mean, there really isn't much to be said besides that. But yeah, from his promos alone, they were just top notch, and I could just be here for hours and hours talking about my favorite Rock promos. There's just way too many, and even his matches were great, and The Rock could go in the ring, and I know he does get credit for how good he was, but he was really great. From his selling to his moveset to his ability to just keep up with anybody he can be in the ring with. It doesn't matter what size they were, big or small guy, or what their wrestling style was. The Rock could adapt to anybody. And yeah, from his matches from Triple H to Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho. Oh, those matches were great. I love those matches with Jericho, especially at No Mercy. Oh, that's so good. But yeah, like I said, The Rock is The Rock. So yeah, he's my number 8. In 7th place, I have the one and only Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero. And how could I not have a top 10 wrestlers list without mentioning Eddie Guerrero? I mean, come on. I think he deserves a spot on everybody's top 10 list, as a matter of fact. I mean, because he is Eddie Guerrero. And, it is such a shame that he is not with us anymore, but, he left a long-lasting impact on the wrestling industry, from, his matches alone were just fantastic. He was so smooth in the ring that he could go with anybody, even someone like Luther Reigns, for instance. But yeah, back to his matches, he had some great ones with Rey Mysterio, Brock Lesnar, Batista, that match at No Mercy that year, JBL, my gosh, that Judgment Day spot with the chair, jeez. But yeah, Eddie could really just do it all. I mean, he went out there and always put on top-notch stuff in the ring, and, on promos and segments. And yeah, there really isn't going to be anyone like Eddie Guerrero ever again, because, he really set the stage for the Latino wrestlers to follow in his footsteps. So yeah, rest in peace, Eddie. He's my number 7. And in 6th place, I have Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. Yes, you heard me right. Scott Steiner is my 6th favorite wrestler of all time. Now, I know you guys are thinking, yes, he does suck in the ring. He's not that great, but I am basing this off of his promo abilities alone. I think he's one of the best of all time. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but the guy is just hilarious. I think he's one of the funniest wrestlers of all time. And just go back to watch anything from his WCW or TNA days. He is guaranteed to make you laugh. And, I think that's why I consider him as one of my all-time favorites, because no matter what kind of a mood I'm in, or what I'm going through, what time of day it is, I can just put on a Scott Steiner video and it will cheer me right up. And if a wrestler is able to do that for me, then he is instantly one of my favorites. So yeah, Scott Steiner, he's the man. And yeah, I could be here for days, just talking about my favorite Scott Steiner promos, but I'm going to create a playlist on this channel of my favorite Scott Steiner promos for you to check out. So yeah, be on the lookout for that, because I will be making it and it is going to be hilarious. So yeah, Scott Steiner, number 6. At number 5, I have the showstopper, Mr. WrestleMania, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Now, of course, Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. And, I think that really comes down to, his matches alone. Gosh, where do I even begin with some of his best matches? I'll just name some of my favorites. His match with Triple H at SummerSlam 2002. His match with Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 21. My gosh, what a 5-star classic that was. Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania 22. I love that match. John Cena at WrestleMania 23. Ric Flair 24. His matches with Chris Jericho were always great, especially at No Mercy 2008. And yeah, I could just go on and on and on about my favorite Shawn Michaels matches, and I'd be here for a long time. But yeah, that's really what, made him one of my favorites, just him, going out there day in and day out, having some of the best damn matches ever in WWE history. So yeah, Shawn Michaels, number 5, one of the best of all time. In 4th place, I have the Rated R Superstar Edge, who is, in my opinion, one of the best heels of all time, no question about it. Which is especially true for someone like me who grew up watching wrestling in the Ruthless Aggression era, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, he made it really easy for me to hate him, very easily. With the stuff with the DX and John Cena and Undertaker, he always found a way to get that title around his waist every time. It always worked. Um, and, it's funny because, of how much I hated him back then, the more I grew up, I started to really admire how well he did his job as a heel. And, it really takes a lot to, become a great heel if you really think about it. You really need to do some like devious stuff to like get your heel character over. And, Edge did just that, really. I mean, yeah, dude, Edge is the man, especially when he had Lita by his side. He's already a winner in my book. So, yeah, Edge, fourth place. In third place, I have the Olympic gold medalist, the wrestling machine, Kurt Angle. Now, earlier I said that Shawn Michaels was all around the best wrestler of all time in terms of, wrestling ability. And when it comes to Kurt Angle, I would say he's the best technical wrestler of all time, no doubt. And I would even say that he's second behind Shawn Michaels in terms of, best wrestler of all time. And, he looked up to his nickname of the wrestling machine. This guy was insane in the ring, as a lot of you might know, or should know, I should say. Without a doubt, instantly, when I think of Kurt Angle's best matches, I think of his match with The Undertaker at No Way Out, 2006. That's one of my all-time favorite matches. That and his match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 21. Whoa. I have like no words for those matches. Yeah, Kurt Angle, there's so many more matches I can just list of, what are some of my favorites of his. But I'd be here for a good few minutes. So, yeah, Kurt Angle won the all-time best, no doubt. I shouldn't even mention his run in TNA also, because he had a pretty successful run there too. With his matches against AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, those type of matches, those were all great as well. And yeah, Kurt Angle, one of the all-time best. What else can I say? At number 2, I have the Dead Man, the Phenom, the Undertaker. Now, I think it's pretty impossible for someone to make a top 10 wrestlers list without mentioning The Undertaker. I mean, the guy has literally done it all in the WWE. He's a multiple-time champion. He's had some of the best matches ever. I mean, my top 10 favorite matches list is, half of this filled with just Undertaker. And, some of the best feuds ever. I mean, my gosh. His feuds with, Edge, that was great. Brock Lesnar. Triple H, I like that. Kane, of course. Not that 2010 crap. I hated their 2010 feud. I'm talking about their earlier stuff. For the 90s, the Attitude Era. Shawn Michaels, that was great. One of the all-time best matches ever at WrestleMania 25. And yeah, I could just be here for, a long hours, talking about my favorite Undertaker feuds and matches. But yeah, I think what really makes Undertaker stand out for me the most is, his gimmick changes. He had, the whole dead man thing in the 2000s. He had the biker gimmick in the early 2000s. The Prince of Darkness, I think that's what he was called in the late 90s during the Attitude Era. And then the purple and black get up in the early 90s. He kept his gimmick fresh, which I can really appreciate. Because, I think a lot of us get tired of seeing wrestlers doing the same old routine, every time, and, that goes along with, if someone's a face for forever or a heel, and Undertaker's done both. He's been a face and a heel mostly a face for most of his career, but, he did change up his gimmick, when it was necessary to do so. And I can always respect him for doing that. He went outside of the box to, keep his character fresh. And yeah, he is one of the smartest when it comes to the wrestling business. He knows what's good for the fans and, what they're going to like and not like. So, yeah, Undertaker, one of the all-time GOATs, if not the GOATs, but not for me, as he is my number 2, and here is my number 1. In first place, I have the King of Kings, the Cerebral Assassin, the Game, the King of the Shovel, Triple H. Now, I know this is a very, very unpopular opinion, but I don't care. Triple H is indeed my favorite wrestler of all time. And, this stems back from my childhood of when I first started watching wrestling in 2006, when he was with Shawn Michaels in DX. And, I know a lot of people don't like that version of DX, but, I don't really care. I loved it as a kid, and I still do. I never really got the hate for it. I thought they were hilarious. But, besides DX, Triple H, he was just the whole package, in my opinion. From like his moveset, I thought was great. The spine buster to the pedigree. I've always loved that sequence of moves. To his entrance, with, the whole water coming from the mouth, and Motorhead playing the background. That's just badass right there. And to his matches, of course, I never really understood why people say his matches are boring. I think people just don't understand in-ring psychology, because Triple H is really good at that. Just go back and watch any Triple H match from in his prime. He was good at telling a story in the ring. He did that with guys like, Shawn Michaels is one of the best examples of that. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, that was great storytelling. And, with Undertaker, and, he had great matches with him. And, Batista, that Hell in a Cell match at Vengeance 2005, one of my all-time favorites. I love that match so much. And, yeah, of course, his matches with Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, those were great. I love those matches. But yeah, again, I just don't understand the hate for Triple H. Of course, I didn't watch Triple H during his reign of terror. I do know all about that era because I did go back and watch it. And, I do understand why people do hate Triple H. I'm kind of taking back what I just said, but, whatever. But yeah, he did what he needed to do to be on top of the company. So, it was a different time period back then. So, I can give it some slack. But yeah, that's besides the point. Triple H, even outside of his wrestling career, he started NXT, for goodness sakes, when it was actually good, not this current NXT crap. Triple H, he opened our eyes to guys like, Sami Zayn, Adrian Neville, Kevin Owens on a bigger stage on TV. And so many more guys, hell, he even made NXT better than Raw and SmackDown, which, it was a pretty easy feat, to begin with, but, he made a monster out of that third brand show, until it got all taken away from him, but, that's besides the point. But yeah, like I said about all these other wrestlers, Triple H has done it all, politics or no politics, you can't take away Triple H's wrestling ability and him always telling a good story in the ring. And yeah, that pretty much summarizes my Triple H's all-time favorites. And that will do it for my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time list. I know this video wasn't the greatest because I've had to film this video from a period of weeks. I haven't had the chance to film this video in its entirety in one sitting. So, excuse, the stammering and whatnot. I've had to, rush this video out. Because I didn't want to keep you guys waiting and whatnot. And also, my house can get pretty noisy at times. So, yeah. I have to be pretty careful on what times I record this video. So, I don't, disturb your guys' ears or whatnot from background noise. But yeah, anywho. The other thing I do want to mention is that I am going to be releasing another video after this soon, hopefully. But I'm not going to tell you guys what it is anyways. And that is going to be my ranking of the 2003 WWE pay-per-views, which, I have seen that you guys have been enjoying the videos. So, yeah, I'll be sure to get that video out right away soon. And also, once I hit 100 subscribers, I am going to be releasing a special video, which I think you guys are going to like. So, yeah, get that subscriber count up to 100, and I will be sure to get that video out to you guys as soon as possible. So, yeah, like I said, that does it for this video. And let me know in the comments what your guys' top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time are, and what other videos you guys want to see from me. And yeah, this has been the ASMR Fanatic signing out.